Shalom Talmidim, Shemot Etzem Perek Vav, Nouns, Lesson 6. We're going to talk about nouns that are called geminate nouns in this lesson. For instance, the word chetz is one of these kinds of nouns. A noun of this type looks like it only has two consonants, but it really has three. That second consonant is really representing two identical consonants. But in the masculine singular form, it only appears once. In the plural, its twin will appear as a dagesh forte in it. In Latin, the word for twin is gemina, and this kind of noun, and a similar group of verbs, is called geminate, because the second and third consonants are twins, and sometimes only one of them shows up. There are three classes of geminate nouns, depending on which vowels they prefer. Let's look at these classes one at a time. Let's start with the A class of geminates, like the noun which means people. The plural is amim. This looks fairly straightforward, right? We have a chirek yod mem, masculine plural ending, but notice that we have a dagesh forte in the mem. It's not just amim, it's amim. Really, we have two mems here, two twins right on top of each other. Or the noun sak, which means sack, a rough kind of cloth. In the plural, it's sakim with two kofs. So our twins, our gemina, have both appeared. Next, let's look at the I class. Sometimes I like to call it the IE class. As you'll see in a moment, there's some vowel shifting. Take the word chetz, which means arrow. In the plural, it's actually chitzim. Now we have an im ending, which is fairly typical for a masculine noun, and we have our dagesh forte in the tzadi, so we have two tzadis. Both geminate consonants have shown up. But do you notice we have a chirek? When you have the two tzadis showing up in this class, you'll get a chirek under the first consonant, chitzim. But in the singular, there's no dagesh forte in the tzadi, and that chirek will lengthen to a tzere. In the I class and in the U class, as we will see in a moment, when you don't have any endings on the end of the word, such as in the masculine singular, you'll only have one of your twin consonants showing. And then you will lengthen the vowel, in this case from a chirek to a tzere. On the other hand, when you have endings, such as the masculine plural im, you'll have a dagesh forte in the geminate consonant, in the twin consonant, and therefore the vowel under the first consonant will be short, chirek. The same thing happens with the word aim, meaning mother, except that aim is feminine, so we get the feminine plural ending on the end of it, imot. We have the dagesh forte in the mem, and therefore a short vowel, chirek, up front. Whereas in the singular, there's no ending, no dagesh forte, a long vowel, tzere. The same thing happens in the U and O class, but with different vowels. So the noun chok, which means statute, has the plural chukim. We have an ending, so we have dagesh forte in the kof, and a short vowel up front. In this class, it will be kubutz, usually. Whereas in the singular, there's no ending, no dagesh, and a long vowel, cholem. The same thing happens in the word dov, bear. The plural is dubim. Ending, so we have dagesh forte, short vowel, kubutz, whereas in the singular, long vowel because there's no ending and no dagesh forte. So chok, chukim, dov, dubim. I don't suggest that you memorize these changes, but be aware of them so that you can recognize that dubim and dov belong together, or chukim and chok belong together. Beseder? Now, when we have a guttural consonant as the twin consonant, we're going to run into some problems. Do you remember I told you 3 special things about guttural consonants? Aleph, He, Chet, Ayin, and Resh. They prefer A-class vowels. They won't take simple shava, instead they'll take composite shava, like Chatef Patach. And the third is they reject dagesh forte. So we've seen that in the plurals of these geminate nouns, the geminate consonant, the twin consonant, will get a dagesh forte. Well, when a guttural consonant rejects that dagesh forte, some things will happen to the vowels around it. Take the word sar, which means prince. We might expect the plural to be sarim, right? As we've seen with many other geminate nouns, you would add the ending and you'd have your doubled twin consonant, right? But we can't have a doubled resh, can we? It will reject the dagesh forte, so this form can't happen. What we get instead is sarim. Because there's no dagesh forte in the resh, the patach we would have expected, the short vowel, actually lengthens into a kamatz, at least in the case of resh, ayin, and aleph. We'll see later that he and chet act slightly differently. But for now, just know that many times when a guttural consonant rejects its dagesh forte, a short vowel before it will lengthen. Let's take as well ger, which means sojourner or resident alien. We might have expected girim, but again the resh rejects the dagesh forte, so this form won't exist. We find gerim, because when the dagesh forte doesn't get inserted into the resh, the hirik we might have expected is lengthened to a tsere. The same thing, of course, has already happened in the singular in this I-class geminate, right? Because there's no doubling in the singular, and so the I has already lengthened to a tsere. So ger and gerim are actually a pretty easy pair, because although all sorts of things may be happening because the resh rejects its dagesh, it looks like all we've done is add chirik yod mem, the masculine plural ending, onto the end of the singular. Here are a few more examples just to show you that sometimes these nouns behave very nicely. Take the word chaya, which means animal. It's a feminine singular noun with kamatz he at the end. It happens to be a geminate. There are 2 yods there. And look, we have an ending, and we have both yods with the dagesh forte. So the plural is chayot, just as we would expect. Dagesh forte, patach. Dagesh forte in the singular, patach. No problems, right? Or take tefillah. This is actually an I-class geminate. Feminine singular, it has an ending. The plural, tefillot. We have an ending, so we have dagesh forte and chirik. We have an ending in the singular, dagesh forte and chirik. This noun also happens to have an extra tav on the front because that's how the noun is formed, but you don't have to worry about that. So, feminine singular nouns with endings will behave very nicely for us. Again, I'm not suggesting that you need to memorize all of the vowel shifts that happen with these geminate nouns, but do learn enough so that you can recognize from the plural what the singular will probably be, in order that you may be able to look it up in the dictionary properly. Você there?